Cheryl, did your, never mind, no. You're with them, okay. I was looking for someone from, Congressman Sanford's office.
I can only keep up with one.
I don't
That's a full-time job.
For those of you that don't know, this young lady works very, very closely with Senator Tim Scott. He has his office there.
Sorry, I'm so
Rivers. All right, Miss Anna, you ready to have to come up here? You know that. Hello, sir. Anyway, my graphic artist here, Miss Anna Hanna, is going to show you what's on the agenda now for the next few minutes, because I'm going to attempt to talk to you about
Can you read that?
Agenda 21. First thing we're going to look at is what exactly is Agenda 21, and it has got itself embedded and hidden in probably 100 different names and our organizations. We're going to look just very briefly at what Agenda 21 says it is. Number 2, Ms. Vanna, hold it up for me, please. There you go. Number 2, we're going to look at what exactly their goals are. They have set goals, okay? Number 3, how can we get involved in slowing down Agenda 21? Notice I didn't say stopping it. It's too well ingrained. Then number 4, hopefully time permitting, we'll have some Q&A. Because there's some folks in this room, I'm convinced, that probably know much more about Agenda 21 than I ever would. So hopefully you can join in at the end. We'll have a little Q&A time. Just to give you an idea, you can't read it from back there, but let me show you 3 pages here of Agenda 21 keywords, okay? From A to Z, and I will leave it up here, you take a look at it at the end. But as you go down looking at this, starts out affordable housing, benefit of all, you'll hear that terminology, benefits driven, cap and trade, anybody ever heard that? Yeah, okay, there you go. How about this one, choice? How many times have we heard choice? Comprehensive planning, you betcha. Down zoning, endangered species, environmental justice. Oh boy, that sounds impressive. How about one of my favorites? It kind of warms my heart when I think about it. We'll go on this one. Global warming. Yeah. How about grants? Our money. Greenhouse gas emissions. Habitat. HEAL, H-E-A-L communities. HEAL communities. Ever heard of that? That's healthy eating, active living communities that are proposed in the future. Wow. And you're going to have to qualify to live in those communities. Wow. How about that? This one right here kind of jumped out at me. International Baccalaureate. International Baccalaureate. Yeah. That's a program. I don't know if Somerville has implemented it yet.
They have in some schools.
Okay, I knew Somerville was considering that.
Fort Dorchester High School has it.
Okay, here we go. Tony says Fort Dorchester already has it in high school. International Baccalaureate.
James Island has it as well.
James Island as well. There we go. So you see, Agenda 21, folks, it's already here in our low country. Metropolitan planning organizations, priority conservation areas, quality of life. Man, that's a misnomer. Redevelopment, resilient cities, smart growth. Oh, we've heard that one. Smart meters, smart streets, social justice. This one I don't even have a clue. Stack and pack housing.
Yeah. That's a house.
Money's being spent on that. Now this is one of their favorite, stakeholder. Huh? Not S-T-E-A-K, but stake. Driving the stake to the dragon, right? Stakeholder, oh, you gotta be a stakeholder in sustainable development, right? And then into the S's here, Sustainable Communities Initiative, Sustainable Communities Partnership, Sustainable Community Strategy, Sustainable Development, Sustainable Economic Development, Sustainable Medicine, and the 3 E's of sustainability. Anybody know those 3 E's? Equity, economy, environment. Whoa. All that sounds in transportation justice. Yeah, transportation justice, right?
Hardly.
Vehicle mileage traveled tax. That's coming down the pipe. Yeah. Because you may have a bigger carbon footprint than I do. Wow. And you may drive a machine that doesn't get as many miles as mine does, and you're gonna have to pay that vehicle mileage travel tax. Yes, sir.
And they said the cars now, all new cars come out, all they have the black boxes in it to monitor them.
They do. They all the new cars have the boxes to monitor that.
Already?
Yeah.
Now this one is impressive. And all these sound good, you know. How about walkable communities?
Bike paths.
You got it. That's where that's leading. We'll talk about that when we talk about transportation, including human transportation in a moment. Watershed, wetlands, and wildlands. I didn't make these up, but here we go. And there's probably, I'll estimate here, probably close to 100 different names that they're going by in Agenda 21. Agenda 21, what exactly is it? Now, and again, I'm going to use their information, pass it on to you. Agenda 21 was born at the June 14, 1992 Earth Summit on global warming held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. How many of y'all remember that when that was the big thing in 1992? Because guess who signed off on it there, and then later President Clinton did. He took his own jet fuel guzzling jet and flew down. He jetted down to Brazil and championed reducing fossil fuels, none other than Vice President Al Gore. But it was born there. It began now as a 700-page global plan of action to reduce the use of fossil fuels in favor of 100% clean energy early in the 21st century. We're not there yet, folks. Hey. But it's morphed, as I showed you there. It's morphed out from that. Today, this plan is composed, and this is their own writings here. This plan is composed of 40 chapters, that 700-page plan. 40 chapters thick that identify each challenge and proposes simple, realistic solutions towards, here it comes, sustainable development, which is, now listen to this, you'll hear this again, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That's the objective of Agenda 21. Okay? It sounds great, doesn't it? It really does sound great. Number 2, what are its goals? Now, I've just listed a few from the report, the 700 chapters. But I'm reading their own words here. Chapter titles and goals. Chapter 1, the role of trade. Trade and environment should be mutually supportive, since international economic relations and the economic policies of every country have great relevance to sustainable development. Okay? We'll tie that in just a moment. Chapter 3, combating poverty. Combating poverty. Listen to this. Poverty is caused by hunger, illiteracy, inadequate medical care, now this is what they said, unemployment, and population pressures. That's what causes poverty, okay?
Kind of sounds like the tail wagging the dog.
Poverty is caused by hunger, illiteracy, inadequate medical care, unemployment, and population pressures.
Too many people.
The poor need access to basic education and health care, safe water and sanitation, and to resources. Now listen to this, it's a key word, y'all be listening to it, especially land. L-A-N-D, okay? Now let me give you a little bit of humor. We're going to fast forward 20 years from 1992 until today. The United Nations wants to be sure that nobody starves in the world, okay? Now, I don't make this stuff up. I'm reading it. Okay. American Legion magazine, Rapid Fire, July 2013, under nutrition. Pass the crickets, please. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization is encouraging people to eat more bugs, specifically grasshoppers and ants, the Associated Press reports. Why?
On behalf of the bugs, they are good to eat, they really are.
I know.
But you gotta have a lot of them.
But what about sustainable development if we eat them all? Now, paragraph number 2, hoping to limit greenhouse gases and shrink the footprint of livestock farming. Cattle, buffalo, yep, hogs. Hoping to limit greenhouse gases and shrink the footprint of livestock farming, a 200-page United Nations report points to insect farming as, quote, one of the many ways to address food and feed security. Oh, we're not joking. It's coming. It's coming. Address food and feed security. Wow. Insects are everywhere, and they reproduce quickly. Adding that insects are an excellent source, and you're right, of protein, copper, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, zinc, and fiber. It's good for combat trainees, okay?
We teach them in training survival. So,
Yeah.
they are good to eat, but I don't think I wanna have a steady diet.
But you see what they're doing? They're headed towards eliminating those magnanimous, huge farms, livestock farms around the country, okay? And moving everybody towards their diet. That's where it's
Tell them to
headed.
go first. We'll tell them to go first.
There you go. Now, chapter 4 is interesting too. Chapter 4, New Concepts of Wealth and Prosperity. That's the title. New concepts of wealth and prosperity, which are more in harmony with the earth. And earth is capital letters, okay? Not little letters, big E, earth. With the earth's carrying capacity need to be developed, particularly in the industrialized countries. Individuals need to accept that they have choices when making decisions about their own consumption patterns. Now here I quote Karl Marx, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. That's Marxist if it ever was. We're supposed to back off. We're supposed to not farm. We're supposed to share with the rest of the world. And somebody said it a little while ago, what about the lazies? How about that?
No work, no eat.
No work, no eat. But we've heard this before under redistribution of wealth.
Under the United Nations, like a family of two is only authorized 750 square foot. You bet 1,400 square foot, they come in your house, cut it in half and give it to somebody else. You really don't own that property. They're the ones that dictate the space you live in.
Absolutely. He is right about that. How about chapter 6? Now, I like this one.
Need to, excuse me.
Protecting and promoting health. The overall goal of Agenda 21, the overall goal is health for all by 2000. I think they missed that target, you don't you? Global health care, that's coming. Yeah, they start with us here. Chapter 7, sustainable health settlements. Now this one got me to thinking about all these trailers and all these millions of rounds that the
Billions, not millions.
billions that the
Homeland Security.
It's been a while on Homeland Security that they're amassing. But listen to this: sustainable health settlements. By 2000, governments should reduce migration to the big cities by improving rural living and see that the homeless get access to land, there's land again, land, credit, and low-cost building materials. I didn't make it up. Check it out, chapter 7. Land, credit, we tried that with the housing bus, and low-cost building materials. Chapter 9.
They didn't have to do any of that to evacuate Detroit.
Protecting the atmosphere, chapter 9, protecting the atmosphere. Developing new renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, ocean, and human power. Human power.
Like in China.
Yeah. That's right.
Generating electricity.
That's exactly where they're going with this thing, okay?
Squirrel cage cranes.
Everybody's gonna be riding the bicycle. They're doing away with the auto. While reducing reliance on non-renewable sources of energy, such as fossil fuel. In other words, they're wanting us to completely eliminate our carbon footprint. Well, the one that's not, that it does not apply to has to be Mr. Al Gore. I shouldn't be picking on him.
Yes, you should.
But you figure this now, Mr. Gore's carbon footprint probably reaches from North Dakota to Mexico City. See?
Oh, yeah.
Because it applies to everybody, but as we were talking earlier, the illegal. Chapter 13 now what does this have to do with it? Mountain development, okay? Protecting mountain ecosystems from erosion, landslides, and the rapid loss of habitat, animals, and plant life. Let me say this, the U.S. Forestry Service has, for about the last 6 years, has been locking down hiking trails, especially out in the west, in the northwest. Been locking them down, the trails and the roads, and in some cases they brought their tractors in and they're completely eliminating roads that go in and out of the forest without informing the public. They refuse to hold public hearings on this. They've been empowered by the government to do this.
Who's doing it, Bill?
The U.S. Forest Service.
Oh.
Didn't Clinton sign
everything over to the UN National Park?
You know that. Chapter 14, agriculture and rural development. Now this is their work. The priority must be to maintain and improve the capacity of agricultural lands with new technologies to support an expanding population. Now did they not say that they wanted the population to shrink? Chapter 14 says we got to grow more. Absolutely. It's referring to a global expansion, okay, that they'll control. Chapter 29, workers and trade unions. Now listen to this. Through elected representatives, workers must be involved in promoting socially responsible economic development. But you got to have an elected representative to do that. That's old collectivism there. That's all the workers like in China. They go to one elected representative. So this can only point to, this is my caveat here, the global workforce. Getting everybody involved. You're not going to have a job unless you are assigned to a representative And if that representative wants you to go down and work in the widget factory in Australia for 2 years, you gotta do it. Or you don't get your card punched. Chapter 37, creating capacity for sustainable development. Wow. Capacity for sustainable development. All countries shared the need to strengthen national capability. Developing countries especially need to build their own capacity to implement Agenda 21 in cooperation with United Nations organizations, developed countries, and with each other. Global peace, huh? Oh, somebody needs to tell the Middle East. Chapter 38, international institutional arrangements. We're about done with it. A large responsibility for following up with Agenda 21 rests with the United Nations organizations. It is recommended that the United Nations create a high-level commission on sustainable development, which would draw on expertise of United Nations organizations, international financial organizations like the World Bank, and NGOs. Anybody know what an NGO is?
Non-governmental.
You got it, okay? And NGOs, industry, business, and scientific groups. Now, folks, they don't intend to fail. Let me read the preamble from Agenda 21 for you. It's very short. Effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of all human society, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. A major shift in the priorities of both governments and individuals, and an unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. This shift will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action to be integrated into individual and collective decision-making at every level.
It starts with a fundamental transformation, I believe.
Also, an NGO, you cannot sue them. A governmental
Thank you.
agency, you can sue. Okay, you can sue any federal government, any state government, local government.
Will the
You
one
cannot
percenters be
sue-
out there with shovels?
You cannot sue a NGO because
Right.
they are not a governmental agency.
Now, we're gonna get into that, but you've been reading my notes.
No, sir, I've been reading Agenda 21.
Yeah, but you're right, you're right on it. You know where I'm going with it. Sooner or later, every single one of us, and our families, and our friends, and our neighbors are gonna be impacted by it in some way by Agenda 21 and our sustainable development. How? Well, enter ICLEI. Ever heard that? ICLEI? You bet, there's your NGO. ICLEI is the International Council on Local Environmental Issues. This is a non-governmental organization, but it does have power and it has money. Although it's unconstitutional, it has all of the support and resources of the federal government in carrying out its mission. What's its mission? To implement sustainable development worldwide. ICLEI, get this now, this is their own writing, not mine. ICLEI has over 1,000 state and county offices as members just here in the United States. It also has the full support and backing of the National Chambers of Commerce. Now, what does ICLEI have? Let's look at that little preamble thing here now. Oh, this is easy. This is nowhere near as long as the other one. Here's ICLEI's action statement. There are specific actions which are intended to be undertaken by, in short, every person on earth. There it is. Yes, sir.
Would you repeat that, please? Are we including the one percenters, the Wall Street people and all that in this?
Oh, no.
They're gonna be out there with shovels and all too?
No, social
It won't be
elite,
the 1% when that takes place.
social elite, okay?
They won't.
Let me repeat this little action statement from ICLEA. There are specific actions which are intended to be undertaken by, in short, every person on earth. Okay? One world government on the rise.
Barack Obama's gonna apply for this
Yes.
job once he leaves the United States.
You didn't mention the lady that forgot to water her lawn.
Oh,
That's right, I think he's
I'll cover it, thank you, that's coming out.
Got to water along.
He wants